Nowhere is the belief of subterranean worlds more prevalent than with the North American Indian. The Hopis believed they emerged from a world below the earth through a tunnel at the base of the San Francisco Peaks near Flagstaff. There are also legends about mysterious Mount Shasta in Northern California. The mountain is said to have housed a race of surviving Lemurians who built a sanctuary in the depths of the earth to escape catastrophes. These Lemurians became allied with space travelers who had built a UFO base inside the depths of the mountain. Then we have the Dulce, New Mexico story. Rumors of an underground battle between black operation troops known as Black Berets and extraterrestrials. Literally a gun battle with lots of fatalities. Could this possibly have happened? Stay tuned and make up your own mind as we explore the legends, the stories, and the rumors about this small town in northern New Mexico. Dulce, definitely a place of high strangeness. Norio Hayakawa. Norio's on the line from his home just outside Albuquerque. He is putting together a conference on March 29th in Dulce to explore the rumors, the legends, and all of the mysteries. Norio, welcome to the show. And how far is Albuquerque from Dulce?
Yes, it's a 3-hour drive from Albuquerque to Dulce, New Mexico.
Dulce is not that far from Aztec, right?
From Aztec, it's about an hour.
Now on Friday night, the 27th, and all day Saturday, the 28th of March, they're having that conference in Aztec, and you're going to speak there too,
That's
right?
There will be the Aztec UFO Symposium on March the 28th, and then next day will be the Dulce underground.
Now you've been interested
conference.
in Dulce for some time, right?
Oh yes, since about 1988.
How did you get interested in this subject, Dulce?
Well, I got interested in Dulce because I had a friend who was apparently involved in the initial rumors about Dulce due to the fact that my friend's friend allegedly worked as a security officer in the alleged facility in Dulce.
Really?
That's right. His name was Thomas E. Costello, who allegedly was working as a security at the Dulce facility in the late 70s.
You said was. Has he passed away?
No, nobody knows.
Passed away for sure. We just don't know where he is, right?
That's right. I know where my friend is. He is Jason Bishop, or he's known as Tal, but he was one of the first persons to receive the so-called Dulce papers directly from Thomas E. Costello, who allegedly worked at the base. Both the Costello's family and my friend Tal lived in Santa Fe at that time.
The Dulce papers. Let's talk about those papers for a moment. Have you seen those papers?
Well, yes, I have seen the so-called Dulce papers. It's, 5 or 6 page description of what exists under the Archuleta Mesa.
So how far is the mesa from downtown Dulce?
It's right next to it. You can see it right in front of you if you go to Dulce. Because you can even see that from Best Western in Dulce.
It's right there.
That's right.
So as you're having the conference, you can see it.
There, you can even see the radio towers on top of Archuleta Mesa, and then it's possible to see some tunnel openings on side of the mountain because there used to be a small mining operation over there right after World War II. But initially, it's my understanding that Los Alamos National Laboratory was even considering using that tunnel and to hollow out the mesa to deposit nuclear waste materials, in which case it will be cheaper in many ways. But whether that plan was realized or not, I'm not sure. But there are vestiges of tunnels, mining tunnels in there. So, it's a very fascinating place. And the only thing about the so-called Dulce base is that there is no physical evidence whatsoever that there is such a base. The only thing that we know is that there are many circumstantial evidences and happenings over there, and it has been going on since the mid-70s. Circumstantial evidence that something has been there and possibly even be there now. Whether there is a base or not, this is one of the most fascinating places in the entire United States insofar as, the ufology is concerned. It's more interesting than Roswell, New Mexico, which everybody knows about, because Roswell happened in 1947, but the Dulce, New Mexico is an ongoing thing. There are still reports of sightings of strange lights even to this day, and the fact that the majority of the residents of Dulce, almost 90%, from my understanding, had experienced sightings of strange lights in the past, 25 years or so, since the mid-70s and so on. And so this is the only community in the entire United States where the vast majority of the residents have experienced sightings of strange objects for the past 25 years, and it's still ongoing. So it's more interesting than Roswell, New Mexico.
Dulce is a pretty small place. About 4,000 people?
Actually, it's less than 4,000. The latest statistics is that there's only about 2,600 because some residents moved out from Dulce in the past few years. Especially some younger residents, the Hikari Apache residents. But despite that, the fact that it only has a population of less than 2,600 now, there are many interesting and very unique, modern-looking buildings and structures, including new elementary schools, a brand new high school, and modern-looking emergency medical services buildings, and it seems strange to me.
I've heard that before about all those nice modern buildings in a place that's, not too progressive, otherwise pretty small place. Well, you have lots of the people, the residents, are going to be at the conference, are going to tell their experiences, so maybe we'll find out.
That's right. It's a very modern-looking, inside is very nice. And, my wife and I visited Dulce again this past January because the History Channel was there to produce an hour program on the whole Dulce controversy, which they will, and it will be aired sometime, I believe, in this summer. But anyway, my wife and I were in Dulce at the end of January, and we even went to look around the elementary school, and it was on a regular weekday, but there were hardly any students there. Then we went to the high school area. Again, we couldn't see any students and cars, and then there's still new construction going on right near the high school. What building, I don't know, but it seemed to be very strange that for a town of that size, small population, that there are many interesting new modern-looking buildings, and also the town of Dulce recently have acquired a $1 million deal with a natural gas company to deal with a natural gas company to, release the access to various areas of the mesa and the nearby mountains.
Man, I hope I can get up there. I'm just dying to find out what's happening up there. I mean, this conference, these people, you're going to have people show up and tell you things.
That's right. This conference is actually a public forum in which people are allowed to express their opinions. It'll be an open public conference, and it's not like any UFO conference that people have ever gone. It is a conference in the sense that, yes, there will be several speakers, but besides the speakers, there will be local residents who will testify about their experiences about the entire Dulce mystery. So this conference and public forum is called the Dulce Base, Fact or Fiction. And this is the first time ever, Jerry, that anybody actually dared to have this kind of a conference right in the middle of the controversial, town of,
I mean, this is a conference where you let people come up and talk about their experiences. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be very interesting.
In fact, I spoke with former Dulce police chief in January, whom I haven't seen in more than 18 years, but he was the one who arrested us in 1990 while he was a police chief.
So you were arrested by him? What were you doing? Trespassing?
Oh, in 1990, I brought some Japanese television crew to document the allegation of the existence of an underground biological lab in Dulce. And so 8 of us went to Dulce in 1990 and were interviewing the people on the street, asking them about their UFO sightings and asking them whether there's a base, and asking them about the frequent sightings of military helicopters in the area, especially during the late 70s and early 80s. And we were interviewing these local residents on the street, but suddenly we were just arrested and detained by the police chief over there, and were detained for 1 hour. And we asked the chief that if we were doing anything illegal by interviewing the people on the street, and he didn't, he didn't answer our question. And at the end of the detainment for about an hour, after taking all our IDs and so on, we asked him again, just before he released us. We asked him, is there a base or not here? And then his mysterious answer was, I don't want to talk about the base. Well, I don't want to talk about it, and period. And that's how it ended in 1990. I just talked with him in this January, and he did remember me. It was almost, 18, 19 years ago, so, but anyway, he remembered me, and he said, I told him that we're having a conference about the underground base here on March 29th, and I asked him if he wants to speak at the conference, and surprisingly, he said, yes, he will. And then I found out that after he quit being the police chief, he got involved in himself in investigations of sightings of allegedly Bigfoot in that area. Besides strange lights and occasional military helicopter sightings in the area, there have been reports of sightings of so-called Bigfoot near the river and the forest in that area within the past, even within the past 10 years. Yes, I also got in touch with another former Dulce police officer who will come to the conference and will testify about his experiences of sightings of strange objects. But Jerry, I'm in touch with a former New Mexico State Patrol officer who told me that he was, of course, in the middle of the investigations of cattle mutilations in the mid-70s, right in that area. He was in charge of the entire Dulce area in 1975 to early 1980s. But this former New Mexico patrol officer told me just last January that yes, he does believe that there have been strange things going on, but just like my belief, he told me that he thinks that the government had staged several UFO-related incidents in the Dulce area as part of a psychological operations program to cover up other real programs that were being conducted in that Dulce area, namely the certain type of biological experiments and germ warfare programs relevant to the bovine diseases, or such as mad cow disease. But he believes, and just like I do, that the government may have conducted these biowarfare programs in that Archuleta Mountain as well as Archuleta Mesa area, as well as nearby ranches in the late 70s, for incidents by the use of hologramic devices and various helicopters, and made people believe that they did indeed were watching alien spaceships and things like that. It's very possible.
You know, every time I think of Dulce, I think about that subterranean battle between the Black Berets, the private contractors, and extraterrestrials.
Is that story or alleged incident was described by Mr. Phil Schneider, who claimed that he worked on part of the construction of the underground base in the Dulce area. Mr. Schneider was giving a lecture in 1995 in some areas of the United States, and he was mentioning that. But Jerry, in 1995, I was also giving lectures about Area 51 of Nevada and also Dulce, New Mexico. And I was giving a lecture, but I had never heard of Phil Schneider until, just about 10 years ago. And I was so surprised that he had described himself as being participant in the construction of the Dulce underground base. So it's a fascinating thing. Jerry, that the Dulce base fact or fiction conference in public forum is going to be held to determine if there is any validity to this allegation. But I was very afraid, Jerry, that to have this conference. In fact, the idea to have this first time ever underground base conference right in Dulce was conceived in late December of last year, and I was it was with fear and trembling that I decided to have this conference right in the middle of the controversial community, because I was afraid of the reaction of the Jicarilla Apache Nation. It's a sovereign, Native American reservation, and I was afraid what the elders of the Jicarilla Apache Nation would think of a person coming from outside and having an underground base conference. But I was very, very relieved later on in January to find out that the Cultural Affairs Office of the Jicarilla Apache Nation indicated to me that they are supportive of me having this conference, because even they themselves have interesting things that they didn't want to discuss on the telephone. But something is there. No doubt about it, Jerry, that something is there in the Dulce area.
There's a real chance at this conference that we may actually get some real news. I mean, some validation about all of these stories about Dulce that have been around for years.
That is the whole purpose of having this a showdown. I would call so having this a showdown. I would call this a showdown in Dulce. It's to come out clean, and we want the residents and the Hickory Apache Nation not to be afraid, but come out in the open and let us know what is going on, and what had taken place, and without fear. But the biggest problem, Jerry, is that this entire area is, has a lot of ancient Native American culture and spiritual aspects deeply ingrained in the area, and perhaps it may be because of this type of culture and spiritual philosophy that they are reluctant to come out and share their knowledge of what had been going on and may still be going on right now. So this is a very difficult, complicated situation. So this is the reason why no one has ever had a conference right in Dulce, New Mexico. And so I'm really excited, Jerry.
We have a link over to that website you have so people can get information on how to register or how they get there or whatever.
Yeah, actually, there is no registration.
Oh, so all you have to do is just show up on Sunday at 10 o'clock, March 29th.
All we have to do is show up, and there is only, it's not going to be a money-making project. However, there is just a nominal entrance admission fee of $5 to attend this conference. So, just to cover the USL facility.
Let's give the name of that hotel. It's a casino, too. Get the information again.
It's called the Best Western Hickory Inn. Jickarilla. The Hickory, that's the name of the tribe that, of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So Best Western Hickory Inn. All you have to do is, you don't even have to stay there because the conference is a one-day,
So if you live in New Mexico or southern Colorado, maybe even Arizona, you can make it a day
from
trip.
10 a.m. and will last till about 4 p.m.
Now, you're going to have a panel at the end of the day of some researchers. I know my good friend Bennis Belfazer
yes, in
will
fact,
be there.
as I mentioned in the press releases, one of the speakers will be Mr. Greg Bishop, who had written a very significant book about how the whole rumors started, and he talks about national security and the disinformation campaign by the government. But there are other speakers that will take a position of the support for the...
So, in other words, you're having pros and cons.
Pros and cons, yeah. So this is really a unique event, Jerry. So I'm so excited, Jerry, and I sure appreciate your, interest in this matter because somehow, to me, this may be related to some things that possibly will take place in the next few years. I was very much involved in the initial investigation of Area 51 in Nevada, and because of having, people's rally at Area 51 back in 1998 and so on, the government finally, because of these activism by, citizens watchdog groups like us, finally the government did admit a few years ago that Area 51 as an operating base at Groom Lake in Nevada exists. And then last year the government decided to compensate the workers who had become ill at Area 51. They decided to compensate the workers. So, the tireless effort of citizens watchdog groups such as the, Civilian Intelligence Network, which I was conducting back, many years ago. And then, of course, groups like the Federation of American Scientists in Washington. These civilian watchdog groups or oversight groups, I think, are very important because they can have pressure to the government's covert, black projects programs, some of which may be causing environmental damages in certain areas, by the dumping toxic chemicals and even nuclear waste materials.
So how about the population in Dulce? Do they have a high rate of things like cancer?
Exactly, Jerry. The area of Dulce has been a place of high percentage of cancer rates for many years. This may have something to do, Jerry, with this strange experiment that the United States government conducted back in 1967, during which the government, under the guise of the peaceful use of atomic energy, decided to explode an atomic bomb underground about 20 miles south of Dulce in 1967 under the project called the Project Gas Buggy, and they decided to explode this atomic bomb 2 miles under this area in Kitgusson National Forest. That caused, I think, problems.
That story fits right into the conspiracy theory about the underground base inhabited by the hostile ETs. I mean, what do you think?
Well, yes, some people say that, but the government knew that there's going to be radiation, and despite the fact that the government announced that the main reason for exploding the atomic bomb underground right near Dulce in 1967 was to release the flow of natural gas in that area, but they knew from the very start that would cause radiation problems, and so it's still a mystery to me, the real purpose of that exploding the atomic bomb.
Now, on the mesa itself, radio towers are up there. Can anyone just go up there?
This is a very, very delicate question, Jerry. The Archuleta Mesa jurisdiction is very complicated. Part of the Archuleta Mesa, the sides of the mesa, apparently are under the jurisdiction of the Jicarilla Apache tribe, the Apache Nation. The top of the mesa is under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, and then the another side right next to it belongs to the Utes tribe. So a lot of things are involving in that jurisdiction. So if one person were to climb the Archuleta Mesa.
Now, there's no road up there, I understand.
Oh, it's a rugged area. It's impossible to go through.
So how did the people get up there to work? I mean, to the underground base?
The allegation, Jerry, is that the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which is the world's most advanced human genome and DNA research center of the world. The Los Alamos National Laboratory allegedly constructed tunnel passages from the laboratory all the way to this area.
Well, the allegations are that you can go from Sandia Base all the way up to Los Alamos underground tunnels.
Well, that is true too. This sounds really far-fetched, but Jerry, it's not impossible because in 1950, the Rand Corporation came out with this conclusion that by the use of the nuclear tunnel boring machines that they already had at that time in 1950, those things could have created such communication tunnel systems and communication systems underground, and so I wouldn't be surprised. Plus, Jerry, as I mentioned to you, there are many interesting buildings in the town of Dulce itself, some of which some residents and some other researchers even allege that they could be passageways under some of these school buildings in there that could lead to underground, laboratory. He's Jason Bishop, or he's known as Tal, but he was one of the first persons to receive the so-called Dulce papers directly from Thomas E. Costello, who allegedly worked at the base. Both the Costello's family and my friend Tal lived in Santa Fe at that time.
The Dulce papers. Let's talk about those papers for a moment. Have you seen those papers?
Well, yes, I have seen the so-called Dulce papers. It's, 5 or 6 page description of what exists under the Archuleta Mesa.
So how far is the mesa from downtown Dulce?
It's right next to it. You can see it right in front of you if you go to Dulce, because you can even see that from Best Western in Dulce.
It's right there?
That's right.
So as you're having the conference, you can see it?
There. You can even see the radio tower.
Stay tuned and make up your own mind as we explore the legends, the stories, and the rumors about this small town in northern New Mexico. Dulce, definitely a place of high strangeness. Norio Hayakawa. Norio's on the line from his home just outside Albuquerque. He is putting together a conference on March 29th in Dulce to explore the rumors, the legends, and all of the mysteries. Norio, welcome to the show. And how far is Albuquerque from Dulce?
Yes, it's a 3-hour drive from Albuquerque to Dulce, New Mexico.
Dulce is not that far from Aztec, right?
From Aztec, it's about an hour.
Now on Friday night, the 27th, and all day Saturday, the 28th of March, they're having that conference in Aztec, and you're going to speak there too,
That's
right?
There will be the Aztec UFO Symposium on March the 28th, and then next day will be the Dulce underground.
Now you've been interested in Dulce for some time, right?
Oh yes, since about 1988.
How did you get interested in this subject, Dulce?
Well, I got interested in Dulce because I had a friend who was apparently involved in the initial rumors about Dulce due to the fact that my friend's friend allegedly worked as a security officer in the alleged facility in Dulce.
Really?
That's right. His name was Thomas E. Costello, who allegedly was working as a security at the Dulce facility in the late 70s.
You said was. Has he passed away?
No, nobody knows.
Passed away for sure. We just don't know where he is, right?
That's right. I know where my friend is.
Nowhere is the belief of subterranean worlds more prevalent than with the North American Indian. The Hopis believed they emerged from a world below the earth through a tunnel at the base of the San Francisco Peaks near Flagstaff. There are also legends about mysterious Mount Shasta in Northern California. The mountain is said to have housed a race of surviving Lemurians who built a sanctuary in the depths of the earth to escape catastrophes. These Lemurians became allied with space travelers who had built a UFO base inside the depths of the mountain. Then we have the Dulce, New Mexico story. Rumors of an underground battle between black operation troops known as Black Berets and extraterrestrials. Literally a gun battle with lots of fatalities. Could this possibly have happened?
Hours on top of Archuleta Mesa, and then it's possible to see some tunnel openings on side of the mountain because there used to be a small mining operation over there right after World War II. But initially, it's my understanding that Los Alamos National Laboratory was even considering using that tunnel and to hollow out the mesa to deposit nuclear waste materials, in which case it will be cheaper in many ways. But whether that plan was realized or not, I'm not sure. But there are vestiges of tunnels, mining tunnels in there. So, it's a very fascinating place. And the only thing about the so-called Dulce base is that there is no physical evidence whatsoever that there is such a base. The only thing that we know is that there are many circumstantial